Baseball is back, and Jack Flaherty is back in a Detroit Tigers uniform. Jack is kind enough to join us live on MLB Tonight. Jack, congratulations on the 2-year, $35 million deal you got with your former squad, which is now your current squad. Is your level of comfortability as high as it's ever been to be back with a team that you were thriving with last year?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy coming back through those doors and seeing everybody and feeling like it's been a while since I've seen them, and just getting back with them and almost kind of like those days where coming back into Cardinal spring training, as I was coming up, and the more comfortable you get, and it was much different feeling coming in last year, where you just kind of trying to get to know everybody and a bunch of new faces, and here was like it's good to see everybody and give everybody a nice big hug.
Hey, speaking of feelings, Jack, we still get stoked every year for the start of spring training. You're not old, but you are a younger veteran, let's put it that way. Do you still get a sense, first day of spring training, of excitement?
Oh, yeah, especially here, coming back here and getting to see these guys and walk in with my locker next to Scoob, and the relationship that we were able to build last year. It was special seeing him, seeing Reese, seeing Raj. I could go down the list of whatnot. So, been to a handful of these, and hopefully got a lot more. But I don't think that excitement ever goes away. We get to play this game and just play the same game that I've been doing since I was a little kid.
A young 29-year-old veteran, Jack Flaherty, with us right now on MLB Tonight. They say World Series experience is a real thing. Would you agree with that? And what kind of experience did you have on a World Championship run with the Dodgers?
Yeah, I think especially when you get into those moments and, you can understand and you can see how big those moments get and just the stage and everything that goes on, and just understanding that the game ends up being the same. And at the end of the day, it comes down to execution. It comes down to what team executes better, especially in big moments, and that every single game just is really one pitch away. But those same things apply during the regular season. And if you can treat every game in the regular season the same way, once you get into that point, while everything else on the outside becomes bigger, the game within itself is still the same.
Hey, Jack, I remember talking to you this time last year in camp, and I could hear the excitement in your voice. And I think part of that stemmed from the conversations you had in the offseason after you signed with Detroit, with Chris Fetter, the pitching coach there. It sounds like you guys got onto the same page even before camp. Talk about the relationship you have with your pitching coach and how that process began.
Yeah. If you look at last year going into spring, I had to work on a handful of things. And once I signed, Fett and I, we had a bunch of conversations with, me, him, and Robin Lund in terms of, whether it was the way I was moving, the way the ball was coming out, and then coming into spring, he was happy to see where I was at. And then we just kept working, through the course of the season on things. Hey, we need to do this better. We need to, keep attacking the zone, keep filling it up. And that's one thing that they've preached here is filling up the zone, just throwing strikes. And I think, if you watch the way Scoop pitches, that's what he does. And what I try to do a lot last year, and things that I did a lot better. And then for me going into the off season was, okay, what did I do last year? And how do we get back to just continuing to do that? I had a couple hiccups here towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. So I was just kind of doing that. And then once I signed back here, was immediately getting on the phone with Fett, sending him some videos. Hey, this is where I'm at, through a bullpen in Detroit the other day, through one here. And, just making sure we're on the same page and continuing to improve on things, and being like, hey, what do we need to work on in spring? Making sure that, we can take even another step forward.
I've always been a fan of yours, Jack, when you broke in young with the St. Louis Cardinals. There's certain pitchers that have the mentality of a position player, and you have the mentality of a shortstop. I think Tarek Kubel has the same sort of mentality. You guys pitch with emotion and an edge. And watching you with the Dodgers in the top step, John with Manny Machado, and you're ready to go. And Tarek Kubel screaming on the mound, facing the Cleveland Guardians. Like, you guys you have such an edge to your pitching style. It's almost like you need that. That the Tigers, for them to replicate what they did, the two of you not just are leaders of the staff, but you guys have to have that edge for the whole team. Would you agree with that?
I think everybody pitches in a different type of style. I've been around a bunch of different guys. Guys like myself and Scoob's very he pitches with a lot of emotion. He pitches with a lot of emotion. Now he doesn't show it. He's not like, he doesn't go ups and down in waves. He's just a fiery guy, and that's just the way he pitches. It's the way he has to pitch. And I think similar to me. And then you have, when I look at other guys I've played with, Adam Wainwright, he was much more stoic, and that worked for him. Miles Michaelis could talk throughout the entire game, much kind of like Reese will do that a little bit. And I just think everybody is different. He plays the game differently. Certain position players play the game differently. And, you play the game, a little bit more fiery and whatnot, but you don't want to let your emotions take over where, now you get into those ups and downs. So it's about managing those, but really understanding who you got to be as a player. And, that's just something that I've tried to figure out, the more I've gone on and, have conversations about, when am I at my best? And it's having a little bit of edge, but, walking that fine line where you don't go too far.
Hey, Jack, I was in New York when Tarek picked up his Cy Young Award. He went out of his way, and heartfelt thanks to Jake Rogers behind the plate, working with him every start. You've been a lot of places, thrown to a lot of catchers. Tell me about the catching staff in Detroit and how closely you work with them in terms of planning and then game calling.
Well, Raj and him have an unbelievable relationship. Like it's second to none. And outside of probably when you look at, for me, when I look at Wayno and Yadi, and then like myself and Yadi, like their relationship's unbelievable. They're as close as they can get. And then, what Federer is able to do and what they can do in terms of game planning, making everybody comfortable and just going in with like being able to use your strengths and understand where you can go and attack these hitters. Like they do an unbelievable job here. The information that's given, what Raj is, the way Raj is able to call a game and the way that he's able to make, Scoob and everybody else comfortable, and Dylan Dingler, he did a good job at the end of the year as well. When I was here, I threw to Carson a lot. Carson Kelly, he's off in Chicago now. Known him for a long time, but they put you in a position to be successful.
When my alarm went off, it really felt like a holiday. As a player, did you feel like this was a special holiday, like day one of spring training?
It's good to get in and like I said, to see everybody. You're just like, it's go time. It's ready to go. There's a part in the off season where you enjoy it and you're like, you're ready. You're like excited to get away from the game a little bit. You're working out, you're throwing, and it feels like the second for me, the second I start throwing pens and things start to really ramp up and football season starts to die down, I'm like, all right, when do we get this thing going? Like I get that itch to go back and play and get back into it. So once those pens get going and you start seeing the ball come out and you start remembering and you start competing and finding different ways to do that, and then you get to come here and see everybody and put the uniform on again and put the jersey on, it's like you get excited.
Yeah, we were all shocked when you got dealt at the deadline. There were teams that won you, so it made sense. But, man, the Tigers are thrilled to have you back. Jack Flaherty of the Detroit Tigers join us on MLB Tonight. Jack, thanks for your time. Stay healthy. Have a great year, okay?
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.